You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. The 33rd annual Winnipeg New Music Festival launched this past Saturday, beginning a week-long celebration of contemporary music and culture. Local audiences will have plenty of opportunity to get to know the music of this year's distinguished guest composer, American powerhouse Missy Mazzoli. Lauded for her innovative and inventive writing, the Grammy-nominated composer-performer features in 4 of the 5 nights. And I'm excited to say that Missy Mazzoli has joined me in the studio this morning. Welcome to Winnipeg's Classic 107.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here, and welcome to town. Have you been to Winnipeg before?
No, this is my first time.
And first impressions?
Love it. I'm a big fan of extreme weather, so this to me is extreme. I know you're having like a warm snap or something, but I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. I'm sure everyone's mentioned it already. Normally, the WNMF Distinguished Guest Composer is greeted by like absolutely frigid temperatures. We roll out a frozen carpet, but yeah, you're getting some not half bad stuff, which is a real treat, I think. So thrilled that you're finding your footing here, and thrilled that we get to honor you throughout this festival. Last year at a typical, more chilly WNMF, we heard a little bit of your music, a little taste of it, the Sinfonia for Orbiting Spheres. And this year, a full 5-course meal, if we want to keep that analogy going, 5 pieces presented over 4 nights. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to have so much of your music presented through the course of this festival?
It's really thrilling. I just think that this festival is so well curated. So it's not just about presenting my music, but it's about what are the pieces around it, you know, and it's just thrilling to be on a festival that is completely dedicated to new work that's reflecting our times. And so I'm thrilled.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, it is about the curation that comes with this festival. It's also a nod to hear a lot of your music and how it is programmed together. As you know, the distinguished guest composer, when you're sitting in the audience, what's going through your head when this is happening? Like, I'm always curious about that. Can you shed a little bit of light?
You mean as the pieces are happening?
Yeah, as things are happening.
It's really an out-of-body experience, you know, to see something that you've written being performed, especially being performed so well. And these musicians have been amazing, and their dedication and their focus to do so much new work and to focus on so many new pieces is incredible. But then when you're sitting in the hall and watching the music kind of go out into this space where hundreds of people are watching, it's very, very strange. I mean, it's really amazing, but it does feel like I'm kind of out of my body in that moment.
Yeah, I imagine there's sort of like helplessness, right? I mean, like it's up there and then it's out in the world, which is just, I mean, that's part of the thrill of it all, isn't it? Sure.
I mean, usually I feel much more helpless in that there's nothing I can do if something's going wrong. But here I feel like I'm in very good hands. So it's very relaxing.
I was speaking a couple years back with Kelly Marie Murphy, and she sort of likened the New Music Festival to a sort of conference, like what other folks would go to and kind of gather together and share ideas and converse with one another. Mm-hmm. That's sort of like what this is, isn't it? For composers, for players, and for audience members too, right?
Sure. You know, yeah, in addition to the concerts, I've been meeting with a lot of young composers as part of the Composer Institute, which I love. I love teaching. I love hearing what the next generation is doing. And then the other composers on the program, we've been having great conversations over late night drinks and meals, and it's great. It is kind of the equivalent of a conference of sorts.
So I want to chat more about a lot of the things that you said, but just to recap, you joined the likes of Philip Glass, Joan Tower, Ervo Parrott, the aforementioned Kelly Marie Murphy, plus Caroline Shaw, Sarah Kirkland-Snyder, Sami Musa, and Meredith Monk, who spent a little bit of time working with, right? Mm-hmm. That's some pretty lauded company, and we're thrilled to add you to it. Just to catch listeners up, you're a Musical America 2022 Composer of the Year, Grammy-nominated composer, as well as a recipient of various fellowships and grants, including a Fulbright. Before all of that, I'm wondering if we can go back in time. This is something you've talked about in past interviews. You knew you wanted to be a composer at a young age, a very young age, 10 years old. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. What made you so sure at such a young age?
I don't know that I was sure. I mean, I think I decided to be a composer before I'd written any music.
Yeah.
I played piano like a lot of other kids. I was not destined to be a concert pianist. I knew this very young. I didn't have the attention span to be practicing 8-10 hours a day. And also I had so many other interests. You know, I knew that I needed to be in a career that would let me access a lot of different things and a lot of different people. So composing is a job that lets me investigate poetry and philosophy and drama and set design and literature and like all these other fields. And so that has really sustained me and kept me going.
Did you know what a composer was at 10? You know what I mean? Like, did you know that it encompassed all of those things?
I had an inkling that,
Yeah.
that it was something that allowed me access into the world, even at a very young age. You know, and I fell in love with Beethoven very young, and I was like, well, what is this called? And I remember my piano teacher said, oh, it's a composer. Like, their job is to write the music. And I was like, well, that's what I want to do. It was very like little kid obsessive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is a wild story. And you didn't come from a particularly musical family too, did you?
No, not at all.
So was it one of those things from the get-go? They were like, all right, like, you're going to be a composer. Was it something that they encouraged as you were kind of like moving through your career?
Yeah, they did. I mean, my parents are not musical. There's really no musicians in my family at all. I came from a small town in Pennsylvania, but my parents bought a piano at a flea market, and that was all it took. And well, it wasn't all it took, but that's what started it. And through the years, they were very, very supportive, even though they didn't understand what was going on half the time. So, like, looking back, I have a lot of admiration for that trust that they had.
Well, it is a very fascinating and very inspiring story, Missy. Like, it is so cool reading through your career and you know how you've crafted a place for yourself in this canon. And speaking of inspiring, you've been tapped as one of the first 2 female composers commissioned by the Met. You've also actively encouraged female, non-binary, and gender non-conforming composers through the Luna Composition Lab, which you co-founded. You already spoke to this briefly about, you know, being here and working with the next generation of composers. And I recognize that this may be a little bit of an awkward question, but could you speak more to that, sort of being an inspiration and being, I guess, part of the change, the idea of not being the exception, but kind of ushering in this new norm?
Yes, I'm very committed. I mean, coming up, going to school for composition, I had a lot of great teachers, but I also, especially as a woman, experienced a lot of discouragement. And I just remember being an undergrad and thinking, if this ever works out for me, I'm going to try to make this better, particularly for the young women and non-binary people who are coming up after me, because I saw a lot of very simple ways that I could improve this experience for people. I think that one of the biggest things about being a young composer is the isolation. You have to really confront this experience of being alone. And if you're a woman or if you're in the minority, you are even more alone. So I created Luna Composition Lab as a way to support teenagers who are women and non-binary who are writing music. And we connect them with prominent female mentors, female and non-binary mentors in the field. And they also connect with each other. Mm-hmm. So they come out of the program with like 25 best friends who are also who share their life experience, who look like them, and who are composers. And my co-founder, Ellen Reed, brilliant composer and a very close friend of mine, we had the same experience growing up. That we were in our 20s before we met another female composer. And
sorry, in your 20s before you met another
yes.
female composer. That is a wild thing to hear in a way, and yet that was the norm for so long, right? It's all about, and now it's about bucking that norm. And like you say, that network that immediately comes together by just bringing a whole bunch of folks together to make music, especially at such a pivotal time, like 13 to 18 is Luna, right?
Yes, and that's really that's the age when people decide to become a professional musician. It's a decision that is made, for better or for worse, it's a decision that is often made very young when you're 13, 14, 15. And so Ellen and I thought, that's the age we need to target.
Very special indeed. And it's cool also seeing this, the Composers Institute that the WNMF, Harry Stefalakis, co-curator, kind of ushered in this idea of nurturing and giving young composers, establishing composers, the opportunity to write orchestrally, which is another beast in and of itself, right?
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. And the thing is about these kind of programs is that one experience or one lesson with a caring mentor can change your life. One performance by a professional orchestra that is done well can change the trajectory of your life. And this has happened to me. I've had a couple experiences like this with mentors and with performances, and I just loved giving that opportunity to other people.
Well, I'm going to follow up one maybe awkward question that you answered so eloquently with another one, because I know that certain composers like to talk about this and others kind of shy away from it. But yours is a musical style that is entirely your own. It is in this contemporary classical vein, but it synthesizes many other genres and influences. How would you characterize your music? Like if someone was sitting on the bus next to you and they go, "Oh, you're a composer. What do you write? What do you say? How do you characterize what you write?"
Oh, see, I'm like the worst person to ask because I'm so inside of it. And with every piece, I'm trying to create a new genre. and like a new style and something that has never been heard before. But that is a fair question. It's a question that I get a lot, and I just try to name my influences. I'm influenced by classical music. I'm also influenced by electronica and pop music and jazz, and this is really a very modern synthesis of all of these things. And my goal is to reflect the time that I'm in. I want this to be music that can only be written in 2024, 2023, 2024,
Yeah.
And so I hope that piques people's curiosity enough to want to listen. Because it's not about giving them a clear idea of what it is. It's just about getting them curious enough to actually go and listen to it.
Is that curiosity the thread that kind of runs through your pieces? Like, obviously, writing for string quartet is going to be different than writing an opera, for instance. But like, is that sort of like compelling quality something that you strive for throughout your pieces? Is it like, if you look way back in your canon, was that the same sort of thrust as you were writing?
I think so. Yeah, I think in a way, I sometimes feel like I'm writing one big piece over the course of my life, and often I've had the same sort of obsessive, curious kind of personality my whole life, and I just think I'm owning it more as someone who's now in her 40s. But I was always that way, and I think there was something in me that just wanted to stick to what was true, what I knew to be true, and to sort of follow my obsessions to their illogical conclusion. And I think it's amazing to be finding an audience for that now.
Well, Winnipeg audiences are going to have the opportunity to hear plenty of your voice. The concerts continue tomorrow, a little bit of your writing for voice and cello. Then the title track to your stellar 2023 album, Dark with Excessive Bright, on Thursday. And then the final WNMF concert, which features the River Rouge Transfiguration, which doesn't take inspiration from the Red River here in Manitoba, but takes inspiration from Detroit, right?
Yes. I just learned the other day that there is also a River Rouge here, but this was inspired by the River Rouge auto plant in Detroit.
Well, very excited that you could be here this morning. Thank you for taking the time to join us at Classic 107. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and looking forward to hearing more of your music, Missy.
Thank you so much.